Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's press conference to preview Sunday's match against Aston Villa. We'll start with Sky Sports and Keith Downey. Morning, Keith.
Morning, Eddie. How you doing?
I'm good, Keith. How are you after everything that happened?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm still intact, thankfully.
No,
Sadly, the vehicles aren't, but I'm still here.
That's great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think the question I've been asked more than anything this week by Newcastle fans is, how is Kieran Trippier after the match, the injury picked up? Is he going to be okay for Sunday?
Yeah, we don't think it's a long-term injury, Keith, but we'll have to make a late call on him for this game. So he's been so important for us in recent games. I thought he was outstanding against Everton, highlighted by his free kick, brilliant execution. But his all-round game, I thought, was so good. It'd be a big blow to lose him, but we'll wait and see.
He seems to have a real impact in the team in terms of the way he galvanises others and his decision-making. How much has that impressed you since he's come in?
Yeah, he instantly caught the lad's respect straight away. Just by his demeanour and how he approached his training and his leadership skills. I think he was very vocal early on when he came in and speaking to the group. But also then his performances have spoke for themselves. He's determined to be a success in whatever he does. He's got very much a winner's mentality to everything. So he's been a key person for us in our uplift of the team's fortunes, really. So can't speak highly enough of him, and long may that continue.
How are you looking injury-wise throughout the rest of the squad?
Apart from Kieran, no fresh injury concerns really going into the game. Paul Dummett's getting closer after his hamstring injury. Fede Fernandez is making good progress but still hasn't trained with the group. So we've still got obviously Matt Ritchie and Callum Wilson out, but hopefully nothing else to discuss.
And obviously Matt Targett's ineligible for this one on Sunday, playing against his parent club. Dan Burn was unused the other night. I know he's played most of the season at centre-back. Could he potentially come in at left-back?
He's an option for us. I think we've got... it's great that I've got a couple of choices to make in that position. Manquillo has done really, really well at left-back, came on against Leeds and made a huge impact. So he's got the versatility to play both sides, and we'll have to make a late check on Paul Dummett and see where he is physically. But it's good to have the choice.
And you said after the match on Tuesday that it'll take Bruno a little bit of time to kind of get up to the speed of the Premier League, and it's all a learning curve for him. When do you think he could be ready to come in and make that first start?
No, I think he's ready to play. He's fit to play. And certainly he's shown all the technical qualities that we loved about him in training already. But it's a case of obviously managing the group from my side and making sure I make the right selections for each game is very different. The midfield balance the other day against Everton I thought was really, really good with Joelinton, Joe Willock and John Joe in there. I thought all three players did really well. So Bruno will play a lot of games for this football club. I've got no doubt about that. So it's great to have competition for places.
I know you're obviously busy getting your head down and working throughout the week, but it feels when you go out and about in the city just now, it feels as though there's something stirring. It feels as though like there's a real feel-good factor there. Is that something that, despite the fact that you're working hard at the training ground, is that something that you and the players can feel as well, and you probably experience that on match days?
Yeah, but maybe it's something the players will feel more than me. But no, I think naturally when you win games, it gives a great feeling, and certainly after the Everton game the other day, it was great to share in that with the supporters and that feeling of accomplishment that you get. And I'd only encourage that from the supporters to the players. You know, the players need to enter the pitch full of confidence, knowing they're going into a great environment to play football. I have to compliment the supporters on the support they've given the team from day one here in some really difficult moments. But they've always backed the players from start to finish and created some memorable moments for me personally, and hopefully many more to come.
2018 was the last time that Newcastle won 3 matches in a row. You obviously can do that on Sunday. I suppose that just gives you an idea into how difficult it's been for the club in recent years. I guess that's something you'll want to put to bed and move on from. Yeah,
consistency of results is key, and I think what we can't do, and I said this after the game, is get too high after wins and too low after defeats. And I think we've got to be very calm in this moment and very focused on the next match. I think football can change so quickly, as we've seen. You know, the Watford game was no time at all ago, and that was a really disappointing feeling at the end of that game. And now we're in a different place, but we have to focus on the next match. We have to be competitive as we have been, and we have to approach the game in the right way. And we can't lose track that we're still in a very difficult position, and we need points.
Just finally, I just want to ask you about Allan Saint-Maximin. Frank Lampard said he was unplayable the other night, and he was really at his best and then some. How far do you think, if he carries on that kind of form, how far do you think he is away from the France squad? And do you think that's something that he could achieve while being a Newcastle player?
100%. That's something he can achieve without a doubt. He's got everything I think you'd want in his locker already. You looked at his performance the other day. I mean, the cross for Ryan Fraser's goal in a position that seemed there was no space to get that ball into the box was incredible. But his overall work rate and endeavour and attitude was very good. And I think if he can hit that consistently, then yeah, what a player he can be. And there's no doubt he's got the talent to do anything he wants to do. But it's finding that on a consistent basis will be the challenge for any player of his type. It's not easy, but I've been very, very pleased with him in recent weeks.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Andy Sixsmith, PLP.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just to pick up on the Allan Saint-Maximin point, I was listening to Micah Richards, who said that he's glad he's not playing anymore because he'd hate to mark Saint-Maximin at the minute. How do you manage him so he can produce that sort of form consistently now for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think with Maxi, he's very much an individual. He's unique as a person and as a player, and I think we've built a good relationship in a short period of time. I really, really like him. And it's getting to know him even better will be beneficial for me, and knowing how to get more out of him and add layers to his game. We're always looking to improve everybody, and Maxi's no different for me. I'm looking to take his game to another level by working with him and get my coaching staff trying to find those ways to get more out of him, and that's a never-ending process that we've already started and will continue to do. And I'm excited by him. Every time he steps onto the pitch, there's that feeling that you don't quite know what he's going to do and how he can win you this game, because he is a match winner. There's no doubt about that. And as I say, some of the things he did in his last game I thought were exceptional, but I want to see that again and again on a more consistent basis.
And he's one of many reasons that the mood, like Keith was alluding to, amongst the city is fantastic. You were talking about the mood changing amongst the players. What's it been like walking into the training ground this week since the Everton game? How do you sum up the mood amongst the squad? Yeah,
the mood in the squad's very good. Naturally, I think, as you'd expect, it's been a good few days for us. I think the players have needed that, in all honesty. I think they've worked really, really hard for me and my staff, and they've given everything. And I think when you're in that moment, when you continue to give and be professional and do everything right, and the preparation we feel has been good, you need the results at the end of it just to give you that validation of that effort. And I'm so pleased for the players that they've had that. Now we need to make sure we continue and don't veer off track. Make sure that the same level of commitment to everything we ask them to do is there.
I suppose there's so many different aspects of the recent performances to pick up on praise, but one thing I noticed was the amount of snarl in the midfield, the amount of grit. You had Kieran, Trippier, Joe Linton towards the end of the game as well. Does that please you as a manager, seeing that level of commitment, that level of intent from the players to get up in the faces of the opposition like they are doing? Absolutely.
I think you can't be too nice in this game. I thought our midfield, as you say, for me, I totally agree with you. I thought it was a real highlight. When you've got Joe Linton and Joe Willett covering the ground that they did in that midfield area, backed up by John Joe, that's a key area of the pitch. You need to win that battle. And then I thought the players were very good in managing the last parts of the game. As you say, we had a lot of experience in that team, and I think that came to the fore. But also it's worth highlighting Chris Wood's impact in that, and I think his physicality and his ability to make life very uncomfortable for the opposing centre-halves has been key as well in the last couple of games. So I think the balance of the team's been very good.
Just on Chris Wood, how far do you think he is away from that goal that he just desperately needs as a striker of Newcastle United?
Yeah, he'll want that goal, but I think it's not lost on me the difference that as I said, his presence and physicality has made to that front line. There'll be a lot of balls that He's had no right to either get a touch on or to just knock a defender. That means that we are able to get up the pitch and spend longer in their half. Also his work rate and his teamwork. So he's covered for Maxi a couple of times when he's out of position. You know, for a striker of his type to do those unselfish things, it's made a big difference to the team. So I don't think you can underestimate all the aspects of his game that have helped the team.
And just finally from me, how different are you expecting this Villa game to be compared to the Everton game on Tuesday night?
Yeah, it'll be very different tactically. There's no doubt about that. I think Aston Villa have their way of playing and they don't change. It's been very effective for them. Very difficult team to play against. They're very compact. They're very good in their defensive structures. And they've got a real counter-attack threat with some very good technical players that are playing behind their striker. So no, it's going to be a very tough game for us, very different, as you say, to Everton, but one that we have to adapt to, but one that we can, I still think, thrive in if we get the detail right.
Thanks, Andy. Alistair McGowan, BBC Sport.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Obviously, there's been a lot of praise for the way the team's playing now. How far along are you, do you think, or the team is? How far along do you think the team is to becoming one in your style?
No, I'd say we've got a long way to go to be the team that we want to be, but we're working towards that, and I don't think that process will ever change. I'm never going to sit here and say, right, that's it, we've cracked it. Football doesn't work like that. You're always shifting and changing and adapting and moulding and trying to improve areas of the team. We focused on certain principles of play, and I think those have certainly improved, highlighted really by the Everton game in terms of our out of possession game. I thought was very, very strong. I was really, really impressed by the endeavour and physical commitment from the players and effort into that game. But there's a lot of other areas that we know we need to improve in, and we'll work towards that, obviously, on a daily basis.
I know you sort of like to say you don't like get too high with wins or too low with losses or anything, but I stayed in Newcastle on Tuesday night, and I can tell you that there was people enjoying that win until the wee small hours outside my hotel room. I just wondered whether you had a chance to sort of reflect on that win and just maybe the progress that the team has made and just, enjoy it, have a glass of wine or whatever. Do you get a time to enjoy it?
No, very, very limited. I think my time for enjoying it is sort of the final whistle to sharing that moment with the players. And then once that's done, in all honesty, their brain sort of ticks on to the next one and thinks, right, what we've got to do to win the next game. And that's just how it is. And that's always been how it's been for me in management. I think you're always moving on to the next challenge. And I think that is the only way to be. And that's why, look, I encourage the supporters to enjoy every moment. That they should be out to the early hours enjoying that and celebrating, because that's the joy of football and that's what we are trying to give them. So I've got no issue with that at all. The players know they're different. They can't. They've got to think like I think and now prepare for the next one.
Just last of all, on Saint-Maximin as well, you won't know this, but every time Saint-Maximin used to have a good game under the previous manager or the previous owners, there was always talk about, other clubs being interested in him. I just wondered whether, there was a reassurance that presumably he would stay at Newcastle. He's not a kind of player that you want to lose. And also, is he the kind of player that sort of you can build the team around in the future based on the club status now? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think there's no intention from my side to lose Maxi. I've seen no indication from the player that his head's anywhere other than Newcastle and making sure he's committed to us in this position and trying to elevate the team out of the difficulties we're in. I see a player that loves playing at St James's Park in front of the supporters, is idolised by them, and that relationship's key, I think, to Maxi, and I think it's really important that we help improve him, and I think that's always been my way with every player. Is my main focus is every day is trying to find an edge to make his game better, and I think if he does, then he'll enjoy a great career, hopefully here for many, many years.
Thanks, Alistair. Nisha Joshi, BBC Love North.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi.
There's been some huge improvements at individual level with players. I think Joe Willock's a really good example, Joe Linton since you've come in. you must be really satisfied with what you're doing on a one-to-one kind of man management level with the team.
Yeah, as I said, upon coming in, I think my method of management is to try and get the best out of every individual while creating a very good team. That's easier said than done, but that's sort of a very simple view on it. We do take great pride in working with players on the training pitch in an individual way to try and elevate their games, to really dissect their strengths and weaknesses and try and improve them continually. I've got to say we've had great buy-in from the players. I think they've been very, very good. Their response to the work has been really, really good. And because it's a two-way relationship, you can't give the work to someone that doesn't want it. And I have to compliment each and every one of them on what they've given me since we've been here in a short period of time.
And does it feel like there's been a real sea change in that dressing room with the new faces, with this gradual improvement, with back-to-back wins? It must feel like a very different place to when you first arrived.
I don't know. It's difficult for me to comment because I can only go with what I've seen. I've always seen a really committed group, a very professional group, and one that's wanted to do well. And from the first moment we came here, trained really well. So I can't speak with any history of what happened before that. My main focus is making sure also that doesn't change. You know, the attitude and spirit within the group has to be consistent and has to remain very strong, because we're still in a very difficult position. We're not shying away from that. Nothing's been achieved. And we need to make sure we remain very grounded in what there's some really difficult fixtures to come.
It's been reported that Dan Ashworth may be close to being appointed at the club. I don't know if you're able to say anything about that or talk a bit more widely about whether or not you would welcome a sporting direct work alongside.
Sorry, your last part of your question broke up there. But yeah, I've been used to working with a sporting director at Bournemouth, so I would encourage that. I believe I can work under any framework really that the club decide which way they want to go, but I would embrace that. And I'm a firm believer that the stronger your team around you, the better you can deliver for the players. So I would welcome any decision, as I say, that the owners make.
And just finally for me, we've talked so much about the feeling in the city and how much excitement and buzz there is around the fans. Have you managed to speak to many or hear from many directly yet?
No, I haven't. I think I've been, as I said right from the start, and please don't think I give the answers that aren't true in this respect. I go to the training ground, I go back to my hotel, which I'm still in at the moment, and to St James's Park. I think they're the three places that I've been most often, and I've sort of not had the opportunity to mix really and see too much reaction. I think I go off what I feel at the stadium and the reaction of the supporters there, and they've been absolutely incredible for me, and the way they've supported the team through good moments and bad moments. And yeah, I just can't thank them enough for that.
Thanks, Nisha. Chris Conway, ITV Time Tees.
Morning, Eddie.
Good morning.
Just sort of following up on that, now that you've had a couple of wins under your belt, do you feel a little bit more at home as Newcastle manager now?
I don't know if at home is the right word. I felt at home from minute one, really, by the reaction of everyone to me. The staff, the people at the training ground here have been incredible with me. Can't thank them enough for that, really. So I felt a good feeling instantly. I do think you need results to help that process, to help everything in connection with a football club. It's a results business. So not underestimating the power that has. So hopefully everyone has a good feeling around Newcastle at the moment, and I'm delighted with that.
And just sort of on that good feeling, I mean, I would imagine the dressing room after Tuesday night was a very happy place to be. Potentially, it could be even happier again if you were to win on Sunday.
Yeah, of course that's the aim, but I think we have to make sure we get our preparation right. The way I think we've prepared for the two games we've won has been really good from everybody, staff, players. Very concentrated effort to give our best in every moment, and we're going to need the same again, because how difficult every Premier League game is, home or away. and we know this is going to be a really tough game for us. So all we can do is our best in our preparation, and that's what we're trying to do.
And just last one from me. Obviously, the sort of bottom half of the table is so compacted and so tight. Does there come a point where you sort of stop looking over your shoulder and look up?
No, is the short answer to that. No, but I think it's no good looking over your shoulder or looking upwards. I don't really understand that analogy for when you're in my position as the manager. You're preparing a team. You're not looking up or down. You're preparing a team to win the game, and so you're not living the emotions necessarily that everyone else is. Your focus is always on the future. So you're trying to get every aspect of your game right. You're trying to isolate any weaknesses that you see and trying to improve those. So the outside distractions of other teams and all that stuff that goes on, the league table, you try and blank out, really.
Thank you, broadcasters. If you have a question for Eddie, can you use the raise hand function now, please? We'll have a brief embargoed section at the end of this for Sunday, so may not be able to get through all Daly's questions. We'll start with Oscar Paul at the Sun.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Eddie, on Allan Saint-Maximin, have you ever worked with or even seen someone in the Premier League who's good at dribbling? And you mentioned adding extra layers. Where do you see improvements in his game?
No, certainly I think Maxi's the best dribbler I've ever worked with. The added layers, I think there's always ways to improve every player. And I think it's a case of sometimes sitting down with a player and just running through a series of things and just asking questions about decisions on the pitch and moments in the game that maybe you can isolate and think, could that have been a better decision? So we do that with every player, regardless of their position, regardless of their age. And we'll do that with Maxi. And he's working very hard. I have to say, he's always wanting to stay out afterwards and improve, whether it's his shooting or his crossing. And he's always working on things. So I can't compliment him enough for that.
Jordan Cronin, Newcastle World.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You mentioned a few months ago you introduced the leadership group into the squad. I was just wondering how Kieran, Trippier and possibly some of your other January signings have and will fit into it.
What was the first bit?
You've introduced the leadership group.
Oh, right, okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I missed that. I think Kieran is part of that leadership group. I think it's vital that we have a core group of players that set the standard in terms of behaviour for everyone else to follow. I do believe we've got some outstanding, experienced players at this football club now, and I think some really inspirational figures that have had wonderful careers. Look at Fede Fernandez and his career experiences for a national team and the way he conducts himself and lives his life. I think you've got to utilise those things for the other players in the squad to look at, and can only harness and create a really good atmosphere around the training ground. So that's what we're trying to do.
Lee Ryder, Chronicle.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning, Lee.
Morning. Yeah, just on a couple of quick ones. Just on the squad situation, I think it's probably going to be about a squad game now, isn't it? Because you're looking for the right attitude for those who you have to leave out the team, and obviously people on the sidelines have got to be ready. So just how much is the squad game important? And secondly, was just a quick one on, there's been reports that Dubravka was offered to Man United on deadline day, and I just wanted to clarify that one because I've had a lot of fans asking about it.
Yeah, so going to your first point, I think the squad game is absolutely key, Lee. You're 100% right. If you look at the Leeds game, we got 3 injuries in the game. On comes Sean Longstaff, Javier Menquillo, and I forgot the last one. Who came on? But anyway, those 3 players that came onto the pitch were absolutely magnificent for us.
Was Almiron?
I'm not sure it was Miggy.
Joe Willock.
Who? Kieran Clark.
Willock.
Yeah, Kieran Clark. There we go. And those 3 players were magnificent and helped us get the win. And I think it's understanding that it's not just 11 players that win you the game. And even the guys that don't come on, they're creating an atmosphere and a vibe in the changing room that needs to be positive. So that's why I say you need everyone with the same mindset towards achieving the same goal. And I think we have that at the moment. And that's why I was so keen in the transfer window not to lose the spirit that we'd created by bringing in anyone that didn't complement that. Going to your second point, there was absolutely no truth in Martin Dubravka to being offered to Manchester United from our side. That's absolutely not the truth.
Chris Wolf, The Athletic.
Morning, Eddie. You mentioned before about the sort of balance of the midfield, and sort of like a two-pronged question, really. I mean, first of all, do you now see Joe Linton as a midfielder primarily? And second of all, if Bruno was to come into the team at some point, do you see him being able to play alongside John Joe Shelby, or do you see this they would play a similar role and so maybe one or the other?
I see Joe Linton as an attacker. I wouldn't put a label on him as a midfielder. He's an attacker who's playing an attacking midfield position at the moment. But he's definitely got... he's obviously played in lots of different positions for the club. He's played wide. But I think his natural instinct is that he wants to create and attack. But what's impressed me most about him is his defensive awareness has just been truly incredible. And his work rate for the team. And again, you look the other day, he hadn't trained... I think he'd trained 3-4 days out of the 2.5 weeks that we had missed since our last game. But physically, you wouldn't have known that. Thought he was immense again from that perspective. So can't compliment him enough on that. What was the second part? Bruno. Bruno can play in any position of the midfield. So he could play as an 8, he could play as a 6, he could play as a double 6 next to John Joe. So I think that's the beauty of him, and why we loved him so much is that he had versatility in midfield. So it creates a really nice pressure on everybody in the team to perform, because we have very good players. And again, I'm going to go back to Sean Longstaff as well, how he's played in recent weeks. You've got a really healthy pressure and competition for places in that midfield area.
Miles Starford, Chiels Gazette.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You brought Fabian Schär back into the team following your appointment. Could you just talk a little bit about his qualities, and also say if there's any contract talks at the end of the season?
Yeah, Fabian's someone that I'd always really admired from afar, from a number of years. We were aware of him before he signed for Newcastle. Really, really, really good footballing centre-back. And I've really enjoyed working with him. He's a really good character, takes his football very seriously. Again, wants to improve. And I think his performances, as he's physically improved, because he hasn't played in a long time, as he's physically improved with his fitness and sharpness returning, I think he's got better and better. And I think he's formed a good partnership with Jamal, and I think they, in recent games, have done really well together.
Luke Edwards, Telegraph.
Good morning, Eddie.
Morning.
I forgot what I was going to ask now. You've obviously been to St James's Park as an opposing manager, and you've obviously now experienced it as a home manager. Can you just sort of try and sum up how difficult it is as an opposing team to try and play when the fans are like that and when that sort of atmosphere is generated?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of my best experiences coming to Newcastle as an opposing manager. Loved the feel of the stadium. And yeah, just a great arena to play football. And I always felt that coming here. It really looked forward to the games. We had a couple of really good results, and then we had a couple of disappointing results. And I think the crowd played a big part in the disappointing results, because I actually remember one year we started really, really well. And I think we took the lead and we were dominating the game. And then the game turned, and the crowd really, I felt, turned the game that day against us. And that is the power. It's a very uncomfortable place to play when the crowd are involved, because you know that the power they have. And certainly I felt both sides of that here.
Scott Wilson, Northern Echo.
Hi, Eddie. Eddie, a kind of similar one to one Alistair was asking, but in the past, whenever we've talked to Newcastle managers about a Saint-Maximin or a Cabaye or a Andy Carroll when he was flying, and the thought turned to the future, the answer was generally every player has their price, because under the previous regime they did, and it was pretty open that part of the plan was to bring in young players, improve them, sell them on for a profit. One hopes or one imagines under the new regime there's a different plan, a different policy. I mean, how important is it that Newcastle is no longer, in quotes, a selling club, and that you can come in and look to build a team without pressure to sell?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, at this moment in time, I've not really thought too deeply about that because of the position that we're in. My focus has been trying to elevate the team's league position and trying to get wins in our current situation. But I think that would be something, hopefully, in the future that will be something that we or I can mentally address maybe with the owners at a later stage. But I think it's a difficult one because at the moment we're not there. We're not thinking about selling players, certainly, because there's no pressure to do that. Obviously, currently there's no window open. But maybe in the summer, I think that's something and beyond that the owners can probably do the talking for me on that.
Okay, final question of this section from Martin Hardy. If you've got a Sunday's question, can you use the raise hand function now, please? Thank you. Hi, Martin.
Good morning, Eddie.
Morning.
A couple of strands to this one. 3 big clubs this season, and Everton, Ason Villa and Newcastle went for new managers, and they all went for young English managers. How pleasing was that? How big a fight are the 3 of you, Frank, yourself and Steven Gerrard in? And how highly do you rate Steven Gerrard, who obviously you face on Sunday?
Well, I'm certainly pleased that Newcastle went for a young English manager. It's not something I've been asked this question a lot. It's not something I've ever really focused on what other clubs do in that respect. I think every club has the right to choose who they wish. I fully respect Frank and Steven. I think they're top managers in their own right. Looking at Steven individually, I think he's got all the credentials to go on and manage at the very, very highest level and achieve whatever he wants to in the game. He's done a great job already at Rangers. He's come into Aston Villa and made a big impact in a short period of time. He's someone that I haven't come up against yet in terms of playing against one of his teams, but from afar I've watched his work and I've been very impressed.